So I've probably been developing and making games since about 8 months ago, and ever since starting this crazy game dev journey, it has been a dream of mine to create a card game. Why? In all honesty, I don't know. Personally, I don't really play card games, but I guess when I was young I was really into magic, so that may be the reason why. Either way, today I'm going to show you how I made my dream card game in 5 days. On the first day of development, I began by trying to think of some ideas, so I researched a bunch of popular card games to see if some of their aspects intrigued me. Now, originally I was really liking the idea of having some sort of character cards, because I thought it would be cool to design them, but I scrapped that idea pretty quickly. At this point I hit a big fat wall. I didn't know what I was going to make or what the game was going to be about. Now luckily my boyfriend had a pretty cool idea, where you play online with other players and each player holds 7 cards. In the middle there will be a card that is picked from a deck, and in order you go around and place cards down on the deck. The catch is though that your card must be smaller than the one on the deck. So for example, if the deck has a 9, your card has to be smaller than that 9. Now if you don't have a card that is smaller than the one on the deck, you have to pick up a card from the deck on the side. Finally, once the deck reaches 0, a new random card is placed on the deck and we go round again until one player has no cards. So basically, just Uno. I really like this idea, but I had to adjust a bit. Firstly, I'm not making a multiplayer game. I have some experience in networking, but not enough to be comfortable with it, and certainly not enough to get it smoothly working in 5 days. So instead, I transformed this idea into a single player game. Now let me explain. The player will have 9 cards, and they have to click the cards in order from largest to smallest. Once they click all the cards, a new hand of 9 cards is randomized and you keep doing this to see what score you will get. But there is a timer, so you have to do it within the time limit, and the timer countdown will keep getting smaller and smaller. Personally, I think this is a great idea, and certainly fits the theme for a hyper-casual addictive mobile game. So with no time to waste, let's begin. So I created a new Unity project and actually began by making some art for the game. I firstly created some art for the main menu, like this background, this title, this exit button, and these extra details. I then created some particles and animations, and made this really cool smooth looking main menu. Personally, I think game feel and game polish is really important, so that is what I was aiming for here. I should also mention that I added a small little detail. When you hover over the exit button, it changes colour and increases in size. Anyways, I then moved on to actually making the game and its logic, so I started by making some custom cards in Photoshop. Here they are on the screen, and I personally really like them. I then made some custom numbers in Photoshop too. Now I could have just used text in Unity, but personally I wanted to make the numbers in Photoshop to have no control. I then had to figure out a way of spawning 9 random cards with 9 random numbers on them, and this was actually really simple. I basically created an empty object called card. I attached a card script on it, where I created a 3D array. Now this array will hold all the card sprites. And in the start function, I made it choose a random sprite by writing this. And now when we launch the game, we get a random card. And for the numbers, I basically did the same thing, just created an empty game object called number and made it a child of the card. And here it is working in its full action. Now talking about the last card clicked, let's actually make the card clickable. I accomplished this in a very easy way. Firstly, I created some animations in Unity's animator and some particles in Unity's particle system. I then added a collider to all of the cards, and using a function called onMouseOver, I checked if the mouse is over the card. If the mouse is over the card, an animation would play, to show the player that the card is being selected. And if the mouse leaves that area, then another animation will play, to show the player that the card is no longer selected. Finally, if the mouse is over the card and left click is pressed, the card would decrease in size, spawn some particles and play a sound, just like you can see on the screen right now. And adding all these particles, sounds, and animation actually makes the game feel a lot nicer, because it makes it enjoyable to click the cards as you're getting feedback from the game itself. So it's a neat little thing that I would recommend you to add to your game, because all these little game feels make the game 10 times more better. Okay, so now we have to make the main mechanic of the game, which is clicking the cards in order, largest to smallest. And this actually involved 2 different steps. Firstly, I need the deck of cards on the right to display your last clicked card, and we will then use this to compare the next card you click. So basically, if the card on the right is a 10, anything that is below a 10 will be fine. And this is very simple to do, and I know I keep saying this, but it really is. We just hit the sprite of the card that you clicked and its number, and we assign the sprites to the deck card and the deck number. And then we compare the number on the deck to the number on the card that you clicked. Now, I made a variable called index, which basically corresponds with the number on the card. So basically, if the index is 0, the number on the card is going to be a 0. If the index is a 1, the number on the card is going to be a 1, and so on. I can just compare the index on the deck of cards to the index on the card that you clicked. So it's very easy for me to check if the card that you're clicking has a lower number than the one on the deck. And I'm not gonna lie, it actually took me longer to figure this out because I tried different methods of doing this, but this is the easiest method that I've found so far. But I guess what happens when we click the wrong number? Well, it's gonna be game over. So I need to make a new screen for game over. And I typically do this through a canvas, which is what I'm gonna do. So I created a new canvas and created some art in Photoshop to make it look nice. And basically, whenever it's game over, this screen will appear. And this will basically display your experience, your coins, and your score, which doesn't exist yet. And it will also allow you to play again or go to the home screen. Now, the play again button will work, so when you press it, the scene restarts and you can play again. But the home button doesn't work just yet because I haven't made it scene. Starting day 3, I wanted to have a proper game loop and all the logic done, so I started by making a timer. It required one script and this as its main logic, which basically decreases the current time by 1 every second. I also made it so that every round that you progress, a new time frame will be set that will be lower than the previous one. And after creating some art, the timer is working in its full glory. Oh, and I made this flashing red canvas appear and disappear when you have little time left, to illustrate to the player that they should hurry up. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. So that's the game loop done. At this point, I also made a score thing, so now when you press a card, you get 1 point. And I made coins that would randomly spawn on the card, and when you press it, you get a coin and a particle appears. All of these values also appear on the top of the screen so the player can see them. Now, without going into too much detail, I made a level bar. This shows the player what progress they have in the game. Now, in the future, levels will allow you to unlock special skins and whatnot, but at the moment, it doesn't do anything. So with all these different values and scores, I needed a way to save it, so I used trusty player prefs to do exactly this. So now your coins, experience and level will save, plus you can take a look at your high score. Now unfortunately this is all I did on day 3 because I didn't have much time. So let's move on to day 4. So on day 4 I really needed to give the coins in my game a purpose. Currently you can get coins but you can't do anything with it. So typically I made a shop, and this took up all of day 4. So the plan for the shop is simple. In the shop you will be able to buy different skins for your cards. And also I'm thinking of making different backgrounds too, but I didn't have time for it unfortunately. So I started by creating some art packs in Photoshop. Now this was easy to do, it just took up a lot of time. In the end I made 4 different packs. A basic pack, a Halloween pack, a browser pack, and a programmer's pack. And then to make the shop I placed a scroll view and used that to display the different items. I then created a 2D array which would hold all the values that I needed. So in this case, ID, name, price, owned, and equipped. I created a separate script that would be on all the items, and this held its information such as ID, so I could easily check what item was being purchased or clicked. And after some time, I made it so that depending on which card pack you click, that is the card pack that will be equipped in-game and on the side. Now, there is a lot going on, so I'm not going to dive into detail, but after some time, all of this worked. I just needed a way to save the players' bought items and what items they have equipped. Now, annoyingly, Unity's player prefs doesn't allow you to save arrays, which is what I was going to use initially. So I installed this add-on called Player Prefs X, which allows you to save 3D arrays but not 2D arrays. And the issue is that my array is a 2D array, so I had to use a loop to convert my 2D array to a 3D array whenever I want to save it. And there is a lot of arrays. I then used Player Prefs X to save it, which was pretty straightforward. And here is that bit of code on the screen right now. It probably won't be much use, but oh well, take a look at it. And basically, here is the finished shop. You can equip stuff, you can buy them, and also it checks if you have enough coins, so don't worry about that, and it will subtract them from your coin value and whatnot. But that basically was day 4. So on day 5, it was just a lot of polishing. I basically added transitions in a lot of places, sound effects, and music in the background to allow the player to have some immersion in the game. Overall, I fixed some bits of code and I made the game just a little bit cleaner and stuff, and I also made the homepage look a lot nicer. And here is the finished game. You can see me on the screen right now just going through the different pages and playing it, and it's really fun. So if you want to go ahead and play this game, there will be a link in the description below and you can go ahead and download it. Now just an FYI, I will be releasing this on Android very soon, but it does take 2 weeks for Android to actually review your game. Okay, so a lot of you guys have also had comments under my previous mobile game asking why I didn't release it on Apple, and the main reason is because it cost $100 to actually release a game on Apple, and I don't have $100 lying around that I can just spend like that. So sorry any Apple users. But yeah, that is the game guys. You can go ahead and play it as I said with the link in the description below, and if you enjoyed this video make sure to leave a like, comment down below and subscribe. I also want to say a big thank you to my Patreons, Smoking Vita, Yan, Nicole Dance and Noob. Your guys' support means a lot to me. And anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you guys later. Bye!